Antonil Tulian Meldanin, and thank you once again for joining me. My name is Lord Aramil, and today we will be talking about vehicles, vessels, and their customization in Dungeons & Dragons. Now, this is one of uh, my, not core, thoughts. How to best put it? When I first started playing Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, so actually playing D&D, not just being a small child reading my father's D&D books, one of the first books I had access to was the Arms and Equipment Guide. Trying to get it. There we go. Now this is a 3.0 book, technically, not a 3.5 book, so a few of the things are a little bit odd, a bit wonky. But it brought in vehicles, which was really cool to me, and I use that quite well, kind of as the core basis for all vehicle combat and whatnot for a long time. And it comes in with maneuverability, propulsion, how to control a vehicle combat, collision. It's actually very detailed on collisions. It changes whether, the collision is head-on, perpendicular, oblique. Yeah. How many times do you have to say the word oblique even? But an oblique collision. What happens to the passengers during a collision? Fun. Repairing and etc. It also comes up with some augmentations, and this is what I kind of want to really talk about today, but bear with me, yes. For all of the vehicles, so we're talking 24, give or take. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 8 or so ships, 4 air vehicles, and another 8 land vehicles. They have about a page worth of augmentations. So, ballista, catapults, 2 different varieties, armor plating, a firing castle, which is basically just like a small mini tower that you would put like on your ship, generally to give your archers a height advantage over enemy archers. Masterwork controls, passenger space, fancy passenger space, luxury passenger space. They know who they're talking about. We're talking about, that bard. Ramming prow or plate. Okay. A rotating platform. That's kind of cool, I'm not gonna lie. And then you get some magical augmentations. So another 2 pages, give or take, of that. Including a non-dimensional trunk. If you needed to store 2 tons of cargo in the ethereal realm. And that's all well and good. But it just seems so lackluster. In D&D, we have so many ways of customizing our characters. And honestly, I feel like vehicles really miss out on this. In Star Wars, the Millennium Falcon is almost as much of a character as anyone else, alright? But in D&D, you really can't get that. At least not rules as written, okay? A ship can't be really customized the way a character can. And I feel like that is really sad in a way. Um, and I'm going to also pull up another book because this is D&D 3.5. So there's a book for that. Stormark. Everything you want to do about aquatic and nautical adventures. Great. Awesome. Really. I mean, very helpful, very useful. And this updates the the vessels. It just sticks with naval vehicles, of course. And some bits are simplified from the 3.0 version. Others are expanded upon. We have, let's see, 3, 6, 9, 15, 18, 21, about 24. Just doing a quick count. Naval vessels, and they give some very nice pictures, including a nice cross section of a caravel, a keelboat, a pinnace, a cog, and a. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce that. No, I'm going to try a thurgem, a vessel powered by magic. That's what it boils down to. And that's all well and good, but I do have several issues with vehicles. Now, I think my first issue is that by the time the characters are seriously considering buying a vehicle or have the money to buy a vehicle, they probably don't care to. Why do I say this? Let's say that the characters want to buy an ironclad, alright? Just for fun, okay? Because it would be just for fun at that point. Because an ironclad costs 50,000 gold pieces. 50,000! You could start up a small town with that kind of cash, alright? An elven wing ship, 40k. Okay, like, this has to be a player's, or at least a character's goal to have such a thing. And it was, for one of my characters, he wanted to have just, actually, he really wanted to have as many bases as possible. And having one that was mobile was perfect because he was a rogue. So an ironclad was perfect. Hell yeah. I'm gonna get out of here and I'm going to look fabulous and impervious while I do so. But my point is that by the time the characters can shell out 50k, they don't need the vehicle. They probably have their own way of traveling vast distances instantly. Alright. Now, this was an interesting way of figuring out how much you're costing an enemy navy. Say if, yeah, but, I mean, this is for fun, but let's say that you're in a Hellenic world, alright, a Greek mythology, alright? Okay, a trireme costs 12k. Cool. So, if you do a sabotage mission, okay, and you sink, I don't know, 3 enemy triremes, alright? Whatever. You get the idea. You can figure out, either as a player or as a DM, or hopefully both, like, okay, we just cost them about 36k, assuming that they can't recover the vessel. So, this will put them back X much time, give us this much of an advantage. Cool. I mean, that's helpful, but that's so niche that you almost have to set it up like that. Okay, like you know, uh, maybe a rival merchant wants you to destroy X amount of gold pieces worth of assets of another company. That could work. That would be an excellent use for this table. But sorry, this table. Yeah, I think vehicles are really underrated and, or at least underdeveloped, underutilized, just under in D&D, and it's kind of sad. Oh, but also understandable. So a few times I've tried to run a pirate campaign, and to varying degrees of success. It's usually fun for, an arc, a short arc of, nautical nonsense. But one of the big things about D&D, uh, uh, excuse me, about how D&D deals with vessels is that each ship has a hull, of course, and each hull is broken up into different sections, and each one of those sections has hit points. Okay, weird. And if you, let's see, what was it? If you destroy one section, then the surrounding sections take damage, which is very realistic. Don't get me wrong. Okay, it's perfectly fine, whatever. Except, as a DM, I have to keep track of which sections the players are trying to destroy, which might not be an issue with, uh, let's try and find something. Yeah, a cog. Okay, the very basic medieval era sailing ship. All right, single-masted, rounded hull, partial deck. Cool. It's tiny. It's 6K. You generally have 4 people manning it at a time, with a total complement of 20 people. So this is something that even reasonably low-level characters, say like 4th, 5th level, they would be able to afford. And it's got a cargo of like 40 tons, so this is still worthwhile. I mean, in a lot of ways. The point is, though, even this ship has 16 hull sections. All right, and if you destroy 4 of them, it sinks. It's important to note. And so you can imagine that, if there is a cog, then the DM might be able to figure out, okay, it's like this section, this section, this section, this section. Yeah. Cool. But let's move forward. All right. Characters might be a bit more experienced, have a bit more cash. Maybe they want a caravel, which is the baseline sailing ship. I'm pretty sure this is what's listed in the player's handbook. Oh, yeah, sailing ship mentioned under transport in Chapter 7 of the player's handbook is a caravel. So this one has 24 hull sections. And if you're going to sink it, you need to sink 6 of them. Okay. Getting up in the world. We'll move on to a different vessel entirely. Okay. Let's say you're an Eberron, and your characters want an airship. because why wouldn't you want an airship? They look fucking fantastic. Alright? It has a ring of fire, and that's its propulsion. Okay. So, an airship, which I just opened the book to the proper page because I'm a boss. No, the airship is still. I say it's more useful than any nautical vessel, mainly because it has a fly speed of 100 feet per round, which is pretty good, all things said and done. So, and because it's flying, you can actually, go more places. So it's more valuable to a higher level party, which is good, because it costs 92,000 gold pieces. And what's worse, alright, it has 1,000 hull sections. You need to destroy 250 sections to cause this thing to start to crash. Alright? Good God. Yeah. It is not surprising that about halfway through our first ship-on-ship battle, and every other naval encounter since then, practically, the player's goals have been to get up to the enemy. Hello, Claren. The player's goals have been to get up to the enemy ship as quickly as possible and board it, and just don't care about anything else. Not going to try and damage the ship at all. We do not care about the enemy ship. We are going to get on there and we're going to beat up a bunch of sailors, and that's it. I think the only time I had to worry about a ship's hull in recent memory was because the pyromancer had fallen overboard and he tried to climb like 3 or 4 turns worth, okay, of just failing to climb up the side of the enemy ship. So he said, you know what, screw it, if I can't go up, I will go through. And he just blasted his way through the hull of the enemy ship. Because he had enough fire reserve feats to just say, screw it, I'm just going to keep blasting my way, and now I'm inside. Haha. And then he beat up, and then he joined in the rest of the players, beating up the sailors. And that was that. Quite simply, there was no care for how fast your ship was, not how many hit points your ship has, not really what your ship could do other than transport you from point A to fight B. And that's really kind of sad. And I understand it because there isn't a lot of ways that a D&D ship can be customized, custom ordered, custom whatever. It's just a ship, and players receive ship, and maybe they add on to it. I did have one campaign that was reasonably successful, where the characters cared about their ship, I should say, because it was a ship that allowed them to teleport from sphere to sphere. So they had what I called the Tevry engine, named after one of the NPCs that they kind of kidnapped. Tevry. Anyways, doesn't much matter. But that's a long story in and of itself. Shit. But they cared about the ship because, well, it was how they got from place to place, in a very literal sense. But the first time they had the chance to swap it out for an airship, that's what they did. And they just carefully uninstalled the Tevry engine from the sailing ship and placed it on the airship. And now we have an airship. And go on from there. It's and to an extent, a character might care about a vehicle, but I've never had characters like really care except in one campaign. Yes. The Return of the Dragon Mech books. Yes. This is the only campaign I've ever been in where the characters legitimately cared about what they were piloting. Alright? Now granted, that's because that they were mech pilots, the class, mech pilot, okay? For the most part. We had two mech pilots who had a friendly rivalry, and it was glorious. Oh, very good, very good. And part of this, I feel, is, well, for the characters themselves, they really enjoyed the thoughts of, how they could customize their mechs. And I think going further than that, these mechs can be custom built. Okay, sorry, I have to hold the book uncomfortably high to be in the shot. Okay, so like we can decide, do we want it to be large size category at the very smallest end of the spectrum, all the way up to City Mech F. So we got large, huge, gargantuan, colossal, colossal 2, colossal 3, 4, 5, City Mech A through F. Alright, just a whole range of spectrums. A whole range of sizes, or a spectrum of sizes. Let's see. Do you want it to be steam powered? So go full steampunk. It could be clockwork. Okay. It could be what's called man powered. So a bunch of people in the back just, screwing around, or like the gerbils running on the treadmill. Yeah, that. You could have one. You could conceivably come up with a gerbil powered mech. Alright, that's what I'm saying. Alright. You could have an animated mech. So it's basically a golem that you pilot. Or an undead mech. Alright? So basically similar concept, just necromantic. Alright. What kind of armor do you want on it? Clay, wood, bone, stone, iron, steel, mithril, adamantine. Okay. It goes into how much time is required to plan out a new design of a mech. How long will it take for different kinds of laborers to build the mech? So it gives, the laborer skill level. So if go with an average laborer who makes 1 silver piece a day, works 8 hours, or gives 8, they call it man hours, so basically each mech is divided by like how much time is required. And like one laborer might be able to put in 8 hours of work a day, whereas an expert laborer making 3 gold pieces a day might be able to put in 14 or the equivalent of 14 hours. Spectral cat mech. That sounds chaotic. Um, or say, how helpful would zombies or skeletons or constructs be? And it, you know, it's kind of it has some additional rules for zombies and constructs, but whatever, doesn't much matter. For our purposes, it doesn't much matter. At least, oh, what is the well, let's see. And they break it down. There's a lot of math. D&D is math with fantasy overturns, and it's kind of what we've come to expect. It's just a shitload of mech math. Mech math. Yes. So there's all of this which lets you build your own mech, all right? And then flipping far ahead, also rules on repairing a mech, which are rough. Honestly, it's rough. It's very expensive, both in gold and time to repair a mech. So maybe that's another reason why my characters were very protective of their mechs. It's just, if it breaks down, you are boned. So that was also fun. I gotta say, it's a very nice thing to see the characters really caring about something. Another nice thing about these mechs is no matter how big it is, alright, it has one section. Alright, it has a single pool of hit points. And oh my god, that is so much better. And it has thresholds. Alright, so we'll take screw it, the Fang Biter, sure, whatever. Mech. Okay. So it has 132 hit points. Yeah. This is a beefy mech. Alright. Well, I don't know if it's beefy as mechs go, because the next entry has over 500, but mechs are designed to fight other mechs, and that's another, like, step of damage. Point is that, okay, the Fang Biter has 132 hit points. At 66 hit points, it hits a critical threshold of yellow. Alright? And at 33, it hits orange, and at 13, it hits red. And each one of those has progressive penalties for almost everything, if memory serves. I'll admit, it's been a long time since I cracked open these rules. Almost a year now, I think. 2020 was very, very long. But my point is that instead of, how many sections have been messed up, it's, these are, what's a good way? Well, these thresholds are what's important, okay? And each one of these, even default ships, have what's called payload units. Okay, so the Fangbiter has 13, and these can be swapped out for different modifiers. Okay, so I'm trying to find where they put it, and it's been a while. So, where did they put? Okay, so different weapons, ballistas, catapults, steam cannons. You get the idea. Where are the other things, though? Because there are lobster claws. Yeah, you could get a lobster claw. That's kind of cool. I don't know where it is. Okay. anyways, they give a bunch of different modifications that you can put on, and then there's a whole book on other mechs, and that gives its own, you know, oh, you want a cargo net. That's an extra payload unit, and it gives you X much cargo space. Cool. And this goes all the way up, okay? So let's go with as far as I'm aware, the largest mech that we have been given stats for, that is Netherpick, a city mech, okay? So it is a size City Mech E, which is the penultimate size, technically. You could get one larger. So it's 1,200 feet tall, and roughly 600 feet by 600 feet wide and deep. It has 3,949 hit points, an AC of 2, but a hardness of 28. It costs about 1.5 million gold pieces. Labor requirements almost 2 million hours, and the construction time is 125 days if you have 1,970 average laborers plus 197 overseers. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there, but the important parts are it goes in on the total hit points, even if there's no reason the player character should ever deal that much damage. It goes into how, conceivably, the player characters could build their own. Frightening as that may be. Like, okay, well, we're going to build us a city. A walking city. Let's do it. Okay, that sounds like a fun campaign. And it could be. You could have an entire campaign just based around building a city mech. And that's kind of an interesting idea now that I think about it. Could be a very fun arc at the very least. And it really depends on the level of the characters, of course. So, maybe the characters are just going to start out with nothing at first level, and they're going to try and find maybe a scrapyard or whatever, and their first priority might just be something that walks and shelters them at night. All right, a walking hovel, and build up from there. And that could be cool. That could be fun. But I think the point is that characters need to have some agency with a vehicle to literally be invested in this vehicle. All right, it can't just be a gold piece amount and call it good. Okay, it's like at high levels, I drop 20, 30, 40K on a vehicle. Yeah, I'm invested in it, but only because I spent that money and not on something else, right? It has no special meaning to me, and therefore kind of meh, right? In Roz's campaign right now, I'm playing a House Orion member, okay? And House Orion in Eberron are not the ones with airships, sad face, but they are the ones with lightning rails, which is basically like a train, except instead of wheels, you have lightning. Which is so much cooler. Eberron is So many things, but subtle is not one of them. And back to this book, it tells you about how you can buy a custom cart. Um, I will try and find the specific page because yeah. So I could buy a house orient coach. No, not a coach. A passenger cart for about 12K. Oh, okay. Yes, very true. Ishvalan. Yes. My character basically. Well, my character. So House Orient has two sides. All right. So there's the Transportation Guild and yeah, the Mailman. Um, the Couriers Guild. That's what it's called. So my character went with the transportation route, and now we're high level, and I can just teleport, and I make so much money, it's ridiculous. I make a couple grand a day, um, just by working my day job. So, uh, honestly, my character should retire, because he has no need to adventure anymore. But if we ever need cash, we just take a week of downtime, and my character just works this day job. Yes, House Amazon, right? Yes, trains. I should. I'm gonna try and pull up a good picture because I just think that. Oh, that is a gorgeous picture. Yeah. Let's. I don't know how to share my screen quickly, so I'm just going to add a whole new scene. Call it lightning rail. One moment, sorry. Image, add image, lightning rail. Yeah. So this is a lightning rail. Okay. That's freaking badass, is what it is. I don't know. I don't even know why it has spikes on the front, but it does. And that just. Yes. So there you go. There's an Eberron train. Um, right? Jeez. It also, funny enough, it tells you how much a crew cart, so that one out on the front, costs. So let's say you wanted a crew cart and at least one passenger cart. That will set you back 70,000 gold pieces. I mean, I guess that's fair. Uh, I understand the RAM behind it, Ishvalan. Uh, it's just kind of the spikes, that kind of look like turbines on the front. Kind of odd, but maybe it has to do with, I don't know, the lightning. I don't know. I'm sure there's a good reason behind it. Mm. But uh, where am I? Here I am. There we go. What I'm getting at is, you could price out how much it costs to um, make your own House Orion train, like the full train, and that's cool. That is interesting, and it's kind of one of my character goals. Yeah, well, fair. Yeah, I know fins and spikes are sometimes impractical, and just rule of cool it. Agua, hail hydrate. Um, but yeah, so one of my character's goals was to get a custom cart and, deck it out as kind of a mobile apartment kind of thing. Um, and yeah, I mean, I did it, or at least I have the ability to do it. I don't remember if I actually have bought one yet. I don't think I have. I mean, and like I said, now my character can teleport a couple times a day, so it's just I mean, I won't say it's impractical, but it's unnecessary. Ugh, dying. Hit the 40-minute mark, and my throat suddenly refuses to hydrate. Yeah, that sounds about right. But more reasons why I'm not a professional YouTuber. But so I can be a little bit invested in this thing because it's a character goal to have a lightning rail cart. Just check. And that's kind of it, though, is the problem. It's cool and it could be useful. Hell, I could work my day job for a week. We could commission our own train. Okay. And then just go off, not off the rails, but off the normal path. So, like, we're exploring the Moonland, which is basically what would happen if a magical nuke went off. All right. And the House Orion rail lines did go through what used to be the country of Sire and is now the Moonland. So now, of course, there's a lot of bad shit in the Moonland that means that it is impractical at best and suicidal at worst for average people to go traipsing through here. So House Orion no longer goes through here. So it could be useful for our characters to have our own crew cart and maybe a passenger cart or two, and just use it to get in and out of this terrible place faster. And honestly, that's not a terrible idea, and I'll have to talk to my DM about it. Luckily, we'll be playing later today, so I get to keep that in mind. And at that point, once we start, once the vehicle itself becomes important, we can start to think about our characters being invested in it. Now, my character's investment is kind of obvious. In a very literal sense, I will be buying it and it will be mine. In a less literal sense, when we start modifying something, when we start, thinking about it, okay, that's when it becomes more important. When it's less of a, okay, we board the thing and then we get to the place. And when it becomes more of a character in and of itself, that's when the players get invested. And player investment is the very elusive yet ultimate thing that you need to get. Anything the players are invested in immediately become more important. Okay? I don't care if it is a an NPC that you thought was going to be a one-off show that one of the characters developed a major crush on, and now you have to just pepper her in every so often. or if it is the kobold Yip Yip over here. Uh, Yip Yip, son of Yap Yap, no, Yip Yip, father of Yap Yap, father of Yop Yop, I think it was. Long story short, yes. Uh, Anything with a name that the characters or that the players will remember uh, becomes important, okay? Whether it is Laryl Silverhand or Yip Yip the Kobold, alright? And it's really just that's it's just whether it is like an actual connection or just a meme, if the characters feel some sort of investment, if the no, not the characters. I need to keep that separate. The characters are invested because they spent a lot of money. The players, however, the players need to think about this vehicle as home. All right, if the players are spending, or if the characters are spending weeks and weeks aboard a ship, they should have some strong feelings about the ship. Honestly, whether they just hate being on a ship, um, or if it's just like, okay, well, that was a fun adventure, time to go home and board the ship. Okay. I'm kind of rambling at this point, but I think you get my point. Is player investment is important, and D&D 3.5 is kind of lacking on customization for vehicles in ways that would really help to get players invested. They are available too late in the game to be extremely helpful. There's just not a lot of things that make your vehicle special. Like, you could armor plate it, sure. Yeah, you could deck that bitch out in full adamantine plates, okay? Uh, uh, but at the end of the day, unless you are dedicated, and I mean very dedicated, uh, to figuring out the rules, figuring out every section, and I hate the section HP rules so very much. You are not going to use that vehicle to its fullest extent. So I really think that the vessels in D&D 3.5 need a rework. Probably, I mean, personally, I would rework it along the lines of the mech rules from Dragon Mech. Yeah, and that's fair, honestly. Having enemies attack a vehicle itself and see how the players react. Yeah, that is honestly a really good way to uh, see how invested they are. Um, or maybe it gets stolen and see how the players react to that. You get the idea. But yeah, ideally, you should be able to tell how invested they are based on how they refer to it, or how much they invest in it, or the like. Um, what's I had another thing that I was going to go over. Oh, I've completely forgotten though. But so this has been kind of my daily ramble on a D&D topic. Mhm. Part of the ship gets stolen? How do you steal part of the ship? Uh, I'm I'm extremely interested, Claren. Please. Uh, oh, that part. No, yeah, that's fair. I know where you're getting at. Yes. Uh, the components of the Tevry engine uh get stolen, and you have to and now you're stuck. Anyways. But yes, so I hope you've all enjoyed this. I know that I definitely enjoy, especially when I have an audience and we can really uh, chat it up a bit. I'm going to show off the airship and the lightning rail for just another minute, mainly because I'll probably be deleting these scenes from OBS uh, after this stream. And I just think the artwork is really cool. Ah, but long story short, thank you for tuning in. Leave a like, leave more comments, subscribe, hit the bell button, all that good stuff. You know how YouTube works. Uh, and I hope to see you again next week. So, Antonio Tulian Meldanin, and farewell.